way Zimbabweans have packaged agriculture, they see it as an old man's job and retirement package. So I saw that, mfano HDK indicator agriculture, I'll gain traction. Agriculture is a job whereby it doesn't phase out. What more must strawberry? You know? So you brought China into Zimbabwe.
Okay.
The same as you kind of UK, right?
That's right.
Ukaona muna no rima magaka. And to not boyani means where you'd buy them for a higher price.
That's
because so that's what we did.
Zimbabweans, they like food with salt.
Yeah.
Comparing Chinese food and Zimbabwean food, what exactly food that you say Chinese want sweet? What type of food do they want?
It's very judgmental first. Like my peers, everyone went to university, then I went to do a diploma. People are doing degrees in engineering. Then I went to do an agriculture diploma, you know, anachukuti mudumeni, you know, family functions. I'm doing away, you know.
And it's a funny word.
It's a funny word.
Someone who's into Chinese horticulture, do you also speak Chinese?
In this field is 4 hectares of Chinese horticulture.
Wow.
Only Chinese products from cucumbers, cabbage, eggplants, madumbi, makokoyams, and we also have a lot of stuff, mapudzi,
Wow. So when you say you are a digital farmer, what is it exactly that you mean?
By digital farmer, I say that we're using digital techniques into organic farming techniques. So we're now digitizing farming, moving from the analog era to the digital era. Instead of writing on paper the inventory, we're now putting it on what we call NFC cards, near field communication cards. Collaborated with LimSync. Then instead of doing paper records, we're now recording on the phone, measuring with the phone, digital thermometers instead of the old thermometers that we know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you know, most of the people, they will attack me if I want you ask this question. You said you are doing Chinese horticulture.
Yeah.
You know, in Zimbabwe, mostly people, they don't, let me say, eat Chinese food mostly.
Yeah.
Which means there is less people that consider eating Chinese food. So when you are doing Chinese food, what's the target? Or you are exporting or what? What's your target market for Chinese horticulture?
All right, so what I would like to say to your viewers and everyone that's going to see, I'm going to say that there are riches in the niches. So this is a niche market, right? We noticed that the Chinese community yakuwanda Zimbabwe.
Wow.
So we brought China into Zimbabwe.
Okay.
The same as you kind of UK, right?
That's right.
Ukaona munhu anorima magaka and to not boyani means where you'd buy them for a higher price.
That's
because so that's what we did. So our target market is Longcheng Plaza, Casino Marina, and a few of the Chinese that we know that we're well connected with. Those are the guys that we saw. Then there are other products whereby even the Zimbabwean community can even eat, just like the cabbage. It's very sweet and nice. Maybe the watermelons, but the watermelons are yellow. They're not pink as the usual ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they taste the same as the
They taste the same. I actually like them. The ones they have, and they're basically the same, but they don't grow very big. They're just small, maybe the size of tomato.
If I may to ask, you know, I realized this year that Zimbabweans, they like food with salt.
Yeah.
Comparing Chinese food and Zimbabwean food, what exactly food that you say Chinese want sweet? What type of food do they want?
They want food that is sweet and chili.
Okay.
They want sweet chili.
Oh, they want sweet chili.
Sweet chili. You tend to see that their cabbages, right? They are very sweet and they're tender because when we sell them when we give them to the market, right?
Yes.
We like food, the Zimbabwean community, at the last physical maturity stage. For example, sugar beans or the normal peas. Towards that,
yes.
But as for the Chinese market, they like it when it's still tender, at the early maturity stage. That's why you tend to see that our cabbages, we sell them at small.
All right.
Yeah, so they like stuff that is sweet and chili because they don't eat tomatoes, so they substitute tomatoes for chili. Yeah.
So do you see yourself in the next coming years supplying even China, or is that you just want to focus more on the Chinese that are in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, we actually have the dream to export. Yeah, it's something that I would consider doing, and I would not want to start with China exact, but I would want to give maybe Botswana, Mozambique, South Africa, because you also see that the Chinese community is coming into Africa. So the market is growing big in Africa. So if you export first in Africa, then you tend to see people's reactions. If it's very positive, you might start exporting in Asia. But you actually see that because the weather conditions that are here, they're very good. And you tend to see that you actually get feedback that's very positive. They actually tell you that it's actually better than our food, the way they grow in there. So here we specialize in organic farming techniques. We try as much as possible kusashandisa mushonga. And panapa moto yedu ndeyekuti mushonga wesora maoko nebadza. Yeah, so no post-emergence, no pre-emergence. Totoshanza maoko.
So how long have you been doing farming?
I started farming, in fact, I went to a college of agriculture when I was 19. Now I'm 21, I'm about to graduate. But farming taingoita zvongochengeto huku, you know, maZimbabwe, pamba pasina huku, everyone tries huku. So, kuti ndinzi farming, I started when I was 16. My dad had a project, cabbage. We had 1 hectare, 40k heads. Then I started liking agriculture from there, and I took a prize. Then I talked to a few guys before I decided to go to Blackford B to study agriculture. Then I actually saw that there's actually money in this, because I noticed that agriculture is a job whereby it doesn't phase out. What more strawberry, you know? So yeah, and the way Zimbabweans have packaged agriculture, they see it as an old man's job. And retirement package. So I saw that agriculture, I'll gain traction, I'll get customers. And I'll tend to see that agriculture is a game of experience. So if I start farming when I'm in my 20s, when I get to my 35s, I'll know every skill, and I'll definitely try to become a millionaire.
What's your point on that one? Because you know, most of the people, they think that that job of touching the muds is just something which is bad. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, my take on that one is I actually had the same thought as everyone. Whereby I was saying agriculture, people see me wearing khaki, a work suit, safety shoe, you know, touching mud all day, bathing pigs, you know, going to the dip. But I actually saw that it's because we're now moving from an analog era to the digital era. So people were not my phone. That's why I decided also to venture into digital farming, whereby we bring farming on the digital platforms, whereby a person can actually see it. No, farming is not only about Munda, because farming is actually broad. We have Mami Domain, then we have the corporate world, and a seed co. We have people that market products. We have people like you guys, you're also stakeholders in, because I might actually get customers from people from this video. And I hope they will follow and like.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it's something that's it's something that will change over time, because in the society of chronosets and laggards, people that are resistant to change. So it's something over time. It might change, because there are people like you who are showcasing that farming is not only about in the mud. There are also technological ways in farming, farming agribusiness management, marketing. We also tend to see that there's plantations whereby you don't need, there's hydroponics. You don't even need to use mud. You can just plant your vegetables in water, then you harvest. So it's something that will change over time, the mindset, and it's something that you guys should keep on showcasing.
That's true. That's true. So from when you are 19, what is it that we say maybe the difficulty that you have faced from the way from you were 19 years?
When I was 19, I was laid back. Relax. Like I used to wear khaki for a photo.
Okay.
So not like now I'm khaki full on. So what I noticed that agriculture rewards those who take action, not those who pass exams.
Okay.
So if you want to get money, farming in Jugas like most.
Yeah.
So we're saying that you have to be there in there. So when I was 19, I had no one who could tell me this.
All right.
Could you know I should do this, I should do that. But over time you tend to see that, of course, you're doing agriculture. You know, when you're young, you start agriculture. But you know, but so when I was 19, you could see that it's very judgmental first. Like my peers, everyone went to university. Then I went to do a diploma people are doing degrees in engineering. Then I went to do an agriculture diploma, you know, and you know, family functions. I'm doing now, you know.
And it's a funny word.
Yeah, it's a funny word, and you know, sometimes it's so demotivating, but you have to keep heads on. Then you actually tend to see that the opportunities when you're young, they're very difficult to get. Why? Because farming is a game of experience, right? So when you're 19, this basically means you don't have experience compared to someone that's 35. You know, you're competing with someone like that. Then you have to keep on pushing, because patience is a virtue in agriculture. Then we also tend to see that getting like resources is very hard when you're young. At my age, you actually need someone that's very supportive. Shout out to my dad. He actually supports me, and a very positive environment that I'm in, like Fort B College of Agriculture, even my friends. So it's something whereby everyone, on my farm, right? They are very old. 60, 70. Those are the people that have resources. So when you're 19, you took the agriculture world, you're obviously going to work before you start your own. But when you're starting agriculture, that's as a farm around, you know, with those land cruisers doing everything, you know, that's the vision. But you work towards it slowly and surely, and you have to learn. It's patient. You tend to see that you have to constantly look on the environment that you're working with.
Yes.
You know, you have to talk to those guys. Those guys are
That's true.
Because when you have a fertilizer, one of that is a cup number 30, you have a 5. So you have to interact with those guys when you're young. They teach you new experiences. They give you knowledge because they have soft skills. These are the type of skills that I would say in class, but you learn them practically. Because when agriculture on a theoretical basis, right? It's mostly. You won't even use that because there are other shortcuts ways to get money in agriculture, whereby you actually say to no, I don't have to go by the book too much. You obviously have to go by the book, but not too much. So those guys, you have to learn from them. So if someone that's studying agriculture or who wants to study agriculture, talk to those people, be very friendly with them. Now, don't act as if you know too much because you learned at a very good school or you have the theoretical knowledge. Because practical is agriculture. Theoretical is just something you display on paper, and it doesn't get you money.
Yeah, that's right. So maybe for someone who's watching and he says, me, I've got a little money, but I want to start agriculture. Which product or a crop that you say maybe with $100 you can invest on that one and you can start to get big?
Alright, so in agriculture, I also noticed that you start small, then you go big. We didn't start with 4 hectares of Chinese horticulture. We started with an acre, then went to a hectare, 2 hectares, 3 hectares, now 4. Maybe if we actually specialize the 4 hectares, we'll expand. So we're saying that with $100, first look at the resources that you have. We have 4 factors of production. We have land, enterprise, we have capital, and I forget the 4th one. But yeah, those ones. You have to consider everything before. So with $100, you can actually start with cucumbers. Cucumbers take 40 to 60 days. That's basically a month and a half to 2 months. Then cucumbers, you can sell them, or you can actually start with my broiler. Everyone starts with broilers. Yeah, you can start with 25 broilers minimum. Then automatically uchechi. You know how people are supporter. You know, maximize those stuff. Because when you're younger, people be like, I think so. Sure, at least I you know the drugs are good. So you start with very small, 25 chickens. You go to 50, you go to 100. And then with agriculture, right? To enjoy money in agriculture, it's either you're far away from production, or a middleman. Or cannot kurima panapa. Now go to and do value addition. Right. For example, warima chibage, right? Karima chibage chako choma. Packet tray or put some put. Put some put packet tray, it's $2. Then packet tray 20 liter, robuta 90 kg maput. Octopeka maput yako. So what only business maput. So even chibage chako chikatengwa chiri fresh chikaomono chisachi maput. So each and every angle you're getting money from your product. And you tend to see that you enjoy more money because you're now making value addition.
That's true.
Because remember, carrots make carrot juice.
That's true.
Or if you're going to sell them very fresh, usingakwanisa kuita value addition.
Yes.
They say that variety is the spice of life.
Okay.
Indikakutengesera maveji $1
Yes.
akangodaro, of course you buy, but unochatengo apo neapo. But ndikakuudza kuti pane chipackage $1 ndokuisira 7 maguni.
Yes.
Kovo ndokuisira 2 madomasi, 2 maonion ne 2 macarrots $1.
Yes.
Someone will buy that because wampa variety, wampa zvakawanda at a low cost. So you try to see my techniques, new techniques, develop like delivery. Yes. You know, you charge someone per delivery. Just make sure that your product is unique as possible, because it should have quality and also quantity, because it's a game of numbers. You know, if you have more, and try to go work with the market. Don't market your produce.
Okay.
But produce for the market.
All right.
You know, if you produce for the market, you first year out kuto
Yes.
yeah, December guy ukuno faro kuchengeta ukwepa.
That's right.
You know, cabbage.
Yes.
Ngwe Christmas, you know. You tend to see like ngwe winter everyone is in onions, you know, everyone cabbage.
That's right.
But kokari machibage. You know, like change siku. Yeah. So you're now going to be a price setter, not a price taker. You just set a price your own order.
All
you know?
right, all
so
right.
you tend to see that you should have strategies when you're farming, because it's you have to make the most out of the dollar you've put in the soil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe from the past years that you did, what is what can you say, like what is that amount that you say maybe this point of time I supplied maybe 3 tons of and I get like 10,000. What is that amount that you said, this time I was shocked with the supply that I made to certain
We're not shocked.
companies?
We once did onions and butternuts in this field before we were into Chinese horticulture.
All right.
So we hosted, there's a school here, GMRI Academy.
Right.
We hosted butternut day, whereby the kids would just run in the field.
Okay.
Then we come with 4 butternuts, they give us $1.
Okay.
On that day, we made $700.
Wow.
For both onions and
only one day.
One day. And in my mind, I had never Nazana butter $700 one
700
day. $700 butter school fees. But
wow.
I buttered, no, this is money from the soil.
Yeah,
one day.
That's true.
And then we actually tengesa over the season we made about 3,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that money, but you know, we reinvested it. But it was something whereby it's not that much maybe for someone anonya rima as such, but in Semunaitanga,
yes,
I actually saw that no, there's a lot of money, and there's actually more to this if we do it properly, and we didn't do that production very proper. But the money akabuda, it actually shocked me, and it's all about timing and season, because if you there's a time whereby you actually know that this is actually wanted and this is actually rare. Yeah, so if you get into that market, you definitely enjoy money. You get the most out of your money.
That's right. And do you see Zimbabwe as the breadbasket of Africa again? What's your take on that?
Yeah, a lot of people are farming at the moment, and maybe we might not see this because munhu export.
That's true.
You know, everyone wants to export manjto peas. People export my pineapple, you know, but you tend to see that the number of people that are now farming, everyone wants to farm nowadays. Yes. And that's why there's Buy Zimbabwe, you know, buy local. If people support the local, we'll definitely regain the status of being the breadbasket of Africa, because you tend to see that we have very good temperature in here, very good weather, even though there's climate change, but you tend to see that you know, you can always supplement and look for ways. We'll definitely gain that status again. If we just use our organic farming techniques, reducing like my GMO, overusing my hybrids, you know, triple hybrid, you know, cabbage, so, you know. Yeah, if we just use our techniques, because farming is something Singaporean style. You know, it's always there, People want to eat every day, every single day. That's
true.
Yeah, the person that's watching, you know, so it all comes from agriculture.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And how do you see yourself in the coming like 10 years in this agriculture sector?
In the agriculture sector, in the next 10 years, I hope that people adopt my digital farming techniques that I'm showcasing on my platforms, and I hope to be a very well-known person, and I want to be someone that contributes to the GDP of the country, gross domestic product, and I would also want to be one of the people, the young people that would be contributing to Zimbabwe becoming the breadbasket of Africa.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I think it's the best. Maybe you can show us. So, Gilbert, what do we have here?
So in this field we have what we know is called Chinese long beans. As you can see, it's long. But then so it's called trellising. That is the manya zikura up zimanya up kwezigenda pasi amuzofambiki and tunovatatsika harvest yedu. So this one is called triangular trellising, as you can see here from here, and the beans is nonaka singaiti. But the Chinese community likes the beans when it's still tender like this, and you see that it's but us, the Zimbabwean community, will only buy this when it's on the last stage of its physical maturity. Yeah.
So after the end product, does it come like big, or is
it's very big. If the Zimbabwean community wants to buy this, we actually, so you tend to see that it's now deteriorating, right?
Yes.
So it's now going to start developing those beans, but we'll wait for the market for the Zimbabweans. But as for now, we're selling to the Chinese community.
How do you sell them to the Chinese community?
So we sell per kg, and it's $50 per kg.
Oh, $50
$50 per kg. So you tend to see what chisandak chachu chisandak masandak edu ma at now 10 kg so ndo at now size masandak. So tunongozadza imomo, then to a scale, then we sell.
All right. But do you think Africa is informing and more on agriculture?
Yeah, we're tending to see that in as much as nowadays people like tech, right? Yes. But agriculture you tend to see that one watch or na computer science project or kunana use it footage for agriculture. So just saying that agriculture but on a different perspective.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And taking like this type of beans, can you eat them with salsa or rice or what?
It's very good with rice. I would like them with rice, to be honest. With the salsa panongoda sugar beans. But for rice, it's very nice, a very good dish. I actually tasted it with some of the Chinese rice. We don't have it, but I tasted it. It's chili tender, so I actually enjoyed the meal. And the fish, my prawns, it was my first time. But yeah, I really enjoyed.
And you to venture into Chinese horticulture, is it that you have a friend who is a Chinese, or is it that you grew up in the Chinese community? I would like to understand that, because it's very difficult for me to generate products which are for Jamaicans, while at least I'm not a Jamaican.
Yeah, so I have a Chinese friend.
Okay.
We talked about it. He had a couple of people that he saw an opportunity.
All right.
And then he was like, why don't you grab this opportunity? You have the land and the resources quite available. I'll help you connect with the market. Okay. So I was like, definitely, sure thing.
All right. So besides beans, what's on the next farm like that one?
The next side there's cucumbers.
So how much do you sell them, the cucumbers?
The cucumbers, I think everything that's in this field is $50 per kg.
Okay.
Yeah, we sell quantity here.
Wow.
So in this bed, this is a cucumber.
All right.
As I was saying, it looks like a prickle. Roto bye.
Oh.
As you can see, and roto kuro darka apa. So what happens with these Chinese cucumbers? Pese panero panombuda cucumber.
All right.
Yeah. So we're expecting per one plant, you expect to bucket 20 liters in makaka.
All right.
So they actually look like prickles. If I would sell them to you, but for the Chinese community, very good cucumber. They feel at home. and it's very nice. So it grows in different shapes, as you can see. Ambacho mweruta nge chili, rimaracho nge banana.
That's
Yeah, and we tend to notice that I not to that trellising because anokura singaite.
Overload.
Yeah, overload. Saka atizodoti fruit here ende pasi panozoita anonzi ma contact ma soil borne ma waterborne diseases patinoderedza.
Alright.
And then fruit inozoita inozoora. But ikakura iri mudenga aiaffectwe nechinhu, and kurema kwacho kunongoremera padenga ipapapa arizoende chipasi, and even pa walking, and we actually prune them. As you can see pane mashizha pasi because mukawandisa the harbor ma pests anozoungana ipapo. As we're saying that panapo we use organic farming techniques tinsingade zvokuspraya, so we prune instead. Patinopruna tovhatata sei tonge tichiona kuti.
So as someone who's into Chinese horticulture, do you also speak Chinese?
Not even. Not even.
Even how are you?
Even how are you? But it's something I've been considering to do. I should learn that stuff because at some point I would want to be the one that's communicating to the market.
Yeah,
at some point, whereby I look for a translator or another Chinese guy who can speak English, then I should translate. You never know what's going on. But if I'm the person to learn Chinese and speak Chinese, right, I would definitely love that. It's something I'm considered doing. So you can actually see it has funny shapes. Yeah, you see, C.
That's true.
Yeah, unlike my English cucumber, I straight and nice. Yeah.
So considering the Chinese market and the black market, which one would you prefer to sell the goods to? Be it considering that you are farming not a Chinese horticulture, you are farming the things that the blacks like, and here to the Chinese you are farming Chinese horticulture. Which one would you say maybe if I sell my goods to the Chinese it's better, or if I sell them to the blacks it's better? Which one would you consider?
Machina notapira mdana. Machina notapira. I would rather work with the Chinese community.
Alright.
I might call myself the Jackie Chan of Chinese horticulture.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely something that's out. But the Zimbabwean community is actually good. But as for me, the cash that's coming in, I would prefer the Chinese community. Big return and very good people.
But have you ever noticed that the Chinese, when you want to sell them, be it a product, at first they try to negotiate?
Yeah, they always try to negotiate. That's why we first put a higher price.
Wow.
Whereby we start, maybe we say that the product is $3 per kg.
All right.
Then we drop up to $1.50.
Wow. Because I used to sell airtime. Okay. Even the airtime even is wrote like dollar. If a Chinese guy come to you want to buy it, you say, what if I give you 80 cents? Every time when they want to
those
to
guys
buy.
They are very good at negotiating. They like to negotiate. They always try to get the maximum return out of every dollar they get. That's something that I'm also trying to do, and that's something that Zimbabweans should also adopt. Whereby you should actually get the real value of the money we have spent, not just spending.
That's true. And the funny part about them, when I used to sell the SIM cards, if someone sell them with the dollar, then they come to me, then I tell them mine is going for $2. Then they say, no, but we bought for $1. Then I say, no, mine is just going for $2. They even buy. Not because they are buying the product, because the other one buy it for $1, then it's $2. But the way that you negotiate with them, that makes them buy the product. That's totally different from the Zimbabweans. And on the next, what do we have there?
We have Chinese maize, as you can see.
Well, this one it's not a Zimbabwean maize.
It's not Zimbabwean maize. So these are some of the advantages of Chinese maize. Ona chirevu chechibage ishi. Anti tinochirasa kaisusu.
Yes.
But we tend to see that it has advantages.
All right.
For men, the prostate cancer.
These ones? Yeah. For the Chinese or even
for even us, though, like the product is chirevu chechibage.
Yes.
Ndoma benefits, and then it reduces stress and BP. It calms down the mind. So paper to bika chibage paper to vatarasa paper chita foods chichi. No, to kutorasa ma benefits. Instead of paper unozoita prostate cancer, there's a remedy to that. Because everyone nowadays they want to eat organic, so yeah, this is the way to go.
But inside, does it look the same as our maize?
Yeah, on this variety it looks exact with our maize, but on the other variety we already harvested it. It was maroon.
Wow.
It's maroon, so we took it to get some to black. So
Okay.
but you know, for their maize, I don't go like general crops.
But what comes like? What do you use? Because you know this one is shorter.
Yeah.
And in our community, if you find maize shorter like this one, they say
shorter, but you can see this one is short, but you can take muguru. Yeah, so it's a hybrid plus. You know, it's a two muguru. You know, you tend to see you edu, you know, rebodai in one muguru.
That's true.
So yeah.
And maybe if we were looking at this maize in China, in their country, China, we could say maybe it's their type of soil, but it's in here in Zimbabwe, and it's just shorter like this one.
It's short, and it actually in China it's actually used to make ethanol, maize, to make fuel, and it has nutrient content that is good to make feed for animals. So these are some of the advantages of
so
having.
maybe they mix their maize with something that produces this type of maize.
Exactly in the labs, yeah, when they are creating, yeah.
So you know, you mentioned other thing that you also have livestock here.
Yeah, we also have livestock here.
Is it difficult to manage a variety of things on a one farm? Like you're doing livestock, you are doing maize, you are doing broccoli, you're doing everything.
So it's difficult to manage at times, but it has advantages because organic fertilizer we make manure. Then the disadvantage is mombe kangopoya up. So it's a loss. So it's something that wants strict management throughout the production process. But we have fenced the area, as you can see. Then we have put cucumbers over there. So cows basically, they are not into those type of cucumbers because I know buy as you can see. So Antoinette, there's a no-go area. So that's okay.
What? But was there any point of time that a cow got out of the fence, maybe to go into Harare, like?
Yeah, it's a lot of times.
Oh.
A lot of times, but it's it's something that was.
Hey, I can imagine that driving in Kickmans, then I see a cow crossing the road.
You know what the young generation will then say? Ukuti draw,
yeah, that's true. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Continue to subscribe because I'm going to drop more videos concerning on farming, and also you can even find a view. Maybe you are sitting at home, you can find a view that maybe if I try doing maize, I can generate money. And also follow Gilbert. Is on TikTok. That's where I found him. He's on TikTok, Facebook. Follow his page. And if you want to get in touch with him, maybe you want to order some products here, I'm going to drop his message in the description box. So